Cardinals look dead in the water, 10.5 behind Atlanta. They caught them on the final day and went on to win the World Series. Do they have it in them again here in 2012 as they began this weekend 7 behind the Reds in the Central? Well, how about it, Tom Verducci? Can the Cardinals do it again?
I'm not sure you want to count on going 23-9 down the stretch 2 years in a row, but the Cardinals are red hot right now. 4 straight wins in which they've averaged 8 runs per game, and it looks like an American League-style offense. And for me, it all revolves around Alan Craig, really having a breakout season. Last night you saw the power from Alan Craig with a 3-run home run that turned this game around. One of the best clutch hitters in baseball. Tom, he's hitting .405 with runners in scoring position, leads the major leagues.
As for the Reds, it's truly amazing what they've done. When their all-star first baseman Joey Votto went down just after the all-star break, they were hoping to play .500 baseball. They are 13 over since he went down.
I think that's more than a best-case scenario, going 26-13. You hope to maybe stay afloat around .500, but Dusty Baker has had 2 guys really step up for him in particular, Ryan Ludwick and Todd Frazier. Doesn't matter whether it's against left-handed pitching or right-handed pitching. These guys have been rock solid, picking up in the absence of Joey Votto.
Today the matchup, Jaime Garcia, the left-hander, back in the Cardinal rotation against Cincinnati right-hander Mike Leake. Aroldis Chapman, Brandon Phillips and company trying to even this series at a game apiece, but don't look now. Here come the Cardinals in the Central. Round 2, next on Fox. It is a beautiful summer Saturday afternoon. Temperature right at 90 degrees. Humidity very, very low. The home team has taken the field, and we take a look at the starting lineup for the Cardinals, brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. A number of changes from their lineup last night. Jay in center, Matt Carpenter at third, Matt Holliday in left. Alan Craig, the cleanup hitter. Beltran dropped to the 5-hole, and Skip Schumacher batting 6th. Tony Cruz for the injured Yadier Molina behind the plate. Rafael Furcal and Jaime Garcia. Our opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. On the mound for the Reds, third-year right-hander, a 5-8 record out of Arizona State. Went straight from college to the major leagues 2 years ago. Mike Leake.
Mike Leake is what I like to call a mix master. Throws 2 different kinds of fastballs, a slider, a cutter, a curve, a changeup. Never really throws 2 pitches at the same speed in the same quadrant of the strike zone. That's what he needs today, to mix it up. Also, he needs to throw ground balls. That's the key to his game.
First pitch in there, strike to John Jay, and this one is underway. Jay injured his shoulder, ironically enough, against Cincinnati, crashing into the wall back in April. And healthy again. Look at Cozart, the rookie shortstop, the pirouette, and throws out the red-hot John Jay for the first out of the afternoon.
Well, it figures to be a busy day for the Reds infielders if Mike Leake is on his game right away. Cozart tested, showing the range behind the bag. The stat I love on Mike Leake on those ground balls: when he gets 10 ground balls in a game, he's 5-2. When he doesn't, he's 0-6. Very important for him to keep the ball on the ground.
Well, clearly it's gone one way or the other in each of his last 2 starts. He had a complete game 4 hitter beating the New York Mets 2 outings ago, and then was lit up his most recent start in Philadelphia, allowing 10 hits, 7 earned runs in just 4 1/3 innings. David Freese hit with a pitch last night, and Matt Carpenter, replacing him, bangs one into right center field. A base hit in the first hit of the afternoon for St. Louis, with 1 out in the opening inning. No structural damage, by the way, with Freese. A lot of the Cardinals were very concerned when he had to leave the game last night, but he was trying to talk his way into the lineup before the game today.
Yeah, and you're talking about a guy who did a couple of years ago suffer a broken wrist on a hit by pitch. There was concern last night, but he actually felt a little better today. Wouldn't surprise me if he is available coming off the bench in this game.
One on, one out. Matt Holliday, the left fielder. Breaking ball swung on and missed. Holliday again putting up big numbers. 23 home runs, 85 runs batted in. Alan Craig waits in the on-deck circle. Great to have you with us on this Saturday afternoon. We are closing in on the final month of this 2012 regular season, and each and every Saturday we'll be with you right here on Fox to bring you the games that matter. 0-2 on holiday. Holiday 5 hits and 11 career at bats against Mike Lee. Taken outside, 1 ball 2 strikes. For a decade, that number 3 hole in the Cardinal lineup belonged to the great Albert Pujols, and many wondered would this Cardinal team survive without Pujols in their lineup after leaving to sign the big free agent deal in Anaheim. Well, they have been just fine. In fact, overall offensively, they have been a better team so far in 2012 than they were last year.
#1 offensive team in the National League. One thing I really like about them, even the middle of the lineup with 2 strikes will hit the ball the other way.
Take a look at Cincinnati defensively, regarded by many as the best defensive team in the National League. It's brought to you by Chevrolet. They're without their all-star first baseman, Joey Votto. He's been out since that 3-game sweep over the Cardinals when he injured his knee. They're hoping to have him back next week. Fastball off the inside corner, 2-2. Ted Barrett calling the balls and strikes today. Brian Runge works at first base. The crew chief is at second, Tim McClellan. And Jordan Baker is down at third. Well, after getting ahead, a ball and 2 strikes, it's run full, and we'll see if Carpenter gets started. The other part about this Cardinal team you really like, they may not have that guy that has 30, 35, 40 stolen bases, but they have a number of players up and down their lineup that already are in double figures, including Yadier Molina.
Yeah, I think that this lineup, even without Albert Pujols, has tremendous depth to it.
Hit well in a deep left center field. And it's caught in front of the wall by Stubbs. This is one of the most hitter-friendly ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. And anytime a ball is hit with that kind of thump behind it, if you're a hometown fan, you're thinking that ball's headed for the seats. So now Craig, one of the postseason heroes last year for St. Louis, began the year on the disabled list following the microfracture knee surgery. Got a chance to play when Lance Berkman went down, but then he got hurt again. When he came back, he has now grabbed that first base position, and you got to wonder, even with the possibility of Berkman coming back when we turn the calendar to September, you'd have a hard time sitting Alan Craig down.
There's no question about that. He has to stay in the lineup. You see the 13-game hitting streak right there. He's hit on every level, Tom. I mean, this is really not a surprise. Health has been the only thing to really hold him back.
I mean, you consider a little better than 300 at bats for Alan Craig this year. 300. 19 home runs and 68 runs batted in.
Well, he's just about 30-31 plate appearances short of qualifying. Otherwise, he's second in this league in slugging percentage.
Batted .373, 5th best in the National League here in the month of August. And Tom brought up a moment ago, the leading hitter in all of baseball when batting with runners in scoring position, and that's in nearly 90 at bats.
And I know a lot of people who like to crunch the numbers will tell you that's really not a specific skill, hitting with runners in scoring position. But the manager, Mike Matheny, certainly disagrees, saying Alan Craig is one of those guys who knows how to get it done, comparing him to Edgar Renteria, former Cardinals shortstop, known for his big hits in the postseason. I do agree with Mike Matheny on that there are some guys who do have a knack, and it's about relaxing and having good two-strike approaches with runners on base.
Well, then that would make three of us who are in full agreement. There are a lot of things about sabermetrics that certainly make some sense. To me, that is one area where it doesn't. And it gets back to what you talked about. Some guys just find a way to relax, concentrate, and deliver. Not going to happen for Craig his first time up today. A hit, a man left. The Reds will face Jaime Garcia when we return. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you got to live Maz. Cozart, Stubbs, and Phillips to start it. Phillips batting in that 3-hole in place of the injured Votto. Ryan Ludwick, boy, is he tearing it up out in left field. Todd Frazier, the rookie at first, and Jay Bruce in right against a left-hander Garcia. Latter third of another former Cardinal, Scotty Rowland, Deanna Navarro, and Mike Leake. Jaime Garcia came off the disabled list and was mighty good his first time out last Sunday. Cozart trying to bunt his way on down a strike.
Key for Jaime Garcia, survived the first inning. He's had trouble in the first inning, especially with walks. 10 walks in the first inning, only 9 after all other innings. The other thing, no souvenirs. Don't give those fans in the bleachers anything to take home, and he's good at that. Only 2 home runs allowed. Obviously, the home run ball, a big part of Cincinnati's game, second in the league in home runs.
Garcia has been mighty good against Cincinnati in his career. A 7-1 record in 9 starts. An ERA just barely over 3, and there's a 2-hopper down to third, 1 out. Cardinals defensively brought to you by Chevrolet. Jay flanked by Holiday and Beltran in the outfield. And we'll tell you it's Carpenter for a call. Schumacher and Craig around the infield with a battery of Garcia and Tony Cruz. We mentioned Yadier Molina. He's been bothered recently with a tender back. But then in the final game of the Houston series, making a throw to a base, he rolled over his ankle. Had a big night here last night at 3 hits, including a home run that broke a 6-6 tie. Scored a couple of runs, but was pretty beat up after the game and earlier today, and Mike Matheny told him to take a day off. Bruce Stubbs, a .227 batter, 14 home runs, 39 batted in, leads a team with 28 stolen bases behind 1 and 2. Bottom fell out of that pitch, and that's the MO on Garcia.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You talk about movement down in the zone. Jaime Garcia picking up where he left off in his last start. Look at how much that ball dives late. That's the kind of late life he showed in his last start. Normally not a high strikeout pitcher, but 10 punch outs and no walks in his last start. There's only 6 Cardinal left-handers who've ever done that. So looks like he is in the same form that he was in his last start.
Mentioned Garcia missed 64 games while on the disabled list with that left shoulder strain. Made 4 rehab starts before they got him up last Sunday to face the Pirates in what turned into a 19-inning loss. Pirates came in there and beat them 2 out of 3, and there were a lot of long faces in St. Louis. Then the Astros came to town, 3 wins there, and made it 4 in a row with a victory last night. 0-1 to Brandon Phillips. A ball and a strike. Roller to the right side and a 1-2-3 opening frame for Garcia. End of 1 from Great American Ballpark. No score. Today's game in Cincinnati, presented by Budweiser, sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by Jeep. On the banks of the Ohio, the belle of Cincinnati. On this Saturday afternoon, no scores. The Cardinals bat against Mike Leake here in the second inning. First pitch swinging. Carlos Beltran, one pitch, one out. Well, you brought up the numbers. In virtually every major offensive category, the Cardinals are either first or second in the National League. But for the folks who watch this team every single day, including their manager, Mike Matheny, they'll tell you it has been an inconsistent offense where at times they'll pile up the runs, and really look no further than the 10 games they have played against this Reds team this year. In 7 of the 10 games, they've scored 3 runs or less. In the other 3 games, they've gone 8, 11, and 7. As there's a base hit into right field by Schumacher, and he's there with 1 out in the inning.
Yeah, those runs we talked about leading the league, they haven't really come in a consistent flow. They've had a lot of trouble winning close games. Certainly the Reds have taken advantage of that. Last time St. Louis came in here, they got swept. All games decided by 1 or 2 runs. So I think consistency has been an issue. That sounds like you're stretching it when you're talking about the #1 offensive team in the league. But as you said, if you're the manager, you watch this team every day, that's what you're searching for, is consistency.
Second hit for the Cardinals against Leake, and now it's Tony Cruz starting in place of Yadier Molina. Should be 2 here, although Cozart having trouble getting rid of it, but Phillips still turns it, and that's that in the Cardinals' second. A quick top of the second. Reds right back at it in a scoreless game. Ceremonies prior to the game, the Reds retired the uniform number 11 of Cooperstown and Reds Hall of Famer Barry Larkin, and especially significant because Barry Larkin was born and raised right here in Cincinnati, attending Moeller High School. Reds #1 draft pick, played his entire career here. Oh, what a spectacular ceremony it was. Just inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame a month ago. Ryan Ludwick tomahawks the first pitch here in the bottom of the second inning into left field. And that's why many of you may have seen already the number 11 as part of the infield just beyond the second base bag.
And not just a great career, Tom, but really a storybook career when you think about it. As you mentioned, played his entire career at the same position with the same team, and not just one team, but his hometown team. Just an incredible career. Really started a prototype. Was the first 30-30 player at the shortstop position.
Well, here's a guy right here that many people feel like, if the season were to end today, and obviously it does not, should be the National League's Rookie of the Year. You know, around the All-Star break and even before the season started, heck, going back a year ago, we heard about Bryce Harper and Bryce Harper and Bryce Harper. Todd Frazier getting a chance to play after not beginning the year on the Cincinnati Major League roster. In limited playing time, nearly a .300 batter, 18 home runs, 59 runs batted in. And you mentioned his name along with Ryan Ludwick, of guys that have just knocked the cover off the ball. And really it's Frazier and Cozart that both are having fine years.
Todd Frazier leading all rookies with RBIs, and I think he's done that, hitting in the middle of the order here with a lot of expectations now and responsibilities with Joey Votto out. But as you know, nothing bothers this guy. One of the most confident players you'll ever come across. Certainly doesn't seem like a rookie, but he's got official rookie status. He's really a very versatile player as well.
Well, if there's ever the quintessential quote-unquote Jersey guy, it is Frazier through and through. So much so that a lot of players, when they have that music as they walk to home plate, they'll have something very current. For Todd Frazier, it's Frank Sinatra.
Oh, and if you ask him, he'll do Sinatra for you as well.
Quite well.
And very well. Yeah, he proudly showed me a picture of the house he's building. Jersey guy building a home in Jersey, just 10 minutes from his parents. Very proud of that.
Pulled on that pitch by Garcia. Holiday's got it for the first out here in the second inning. And Fox Saturday Baseball being presented by Bud Light Lime. Summer is calling. Jay Bruce at .259, 26 home runs, 79 runs batted in, a National League All-Star for the second time this year.
You see the way they set up on the infield. He's one of the few pull hitters, true pull hitters, that the Reds have where they will overshift. You see that Schumacher with the runner on first has to play a double play depth. So you really forfeit a lot of range. Last night Jay Bruce just kind of dribbled the ball up through the middle, through that hole between shortstop and second base.
Smash knocked down by Craig. That's a good play by the Cardinal first baseman. That ball gets by him into the corner. And Ludwick at the minimum is standing at third.
Well, they call third base the hot corner. When you hold somebody on, it looked like he used his left shin there to make a little goalie type move on this ball. On him in a hurry. With plenty of time to recover and to get the out.
Well, the Reds have a runner in scoring position for the first time in the game, and now it's Scott Rowland. That batting average all the way up, and it's come a long way to get to .249. Since getting healthy, Rowland has been nearly a .350 batter since the All-Star break. Strike one. You and I were talking with Dusty Baker, Tom Verducci, before the game today, and all three in full agreement. Scott Rowland one day will be giving an acceptance speech in Cooperstown, New York.
Tommy's very comparable to Ron Santo, just elected or inducted into the Hall of Fame with Barry Larkin this summer. And certainly he's not done yet by any means, but also factor in how well he plays defense, Gold Glove at third base, and really one of the best base runners in the game as well.
So many outstanding years for Rowland, of course, wearing a Cardinal uniform. Taken high, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reds brought him over from Toronto in a shocking deal at the time 3 years ago. That was a year that the Reds won 27 of their final 40, and many believe it was Rowland who brought a great deal of leadership to this team. In the following year, they won the division championship. 2-2 on Rowland.
And that trade caught a lot of people by surprise because people were not looking at the Reds as a buyer at the time. But I think it was a smart move because the Reds certainly knew his value in the clubhouse as well as on the field.
Rowland grew up just down the road in Jasper, Indiana. Originally, of course, a first-round pick by the Philadelphia Phillies before moving on to St. Louis. 3-2 now on Rowland.
Yeah, just a good veteran at bat here by Rowland. You know, getting the count back to 3-2 after an 0-2 start, knowing there's first base open. Garcia trying to get him to chase something out of the zone to get him out on a ball rather than a strike, which he could still do at 3-2 with the base open. But Scott Rowland so far not biting.
Takes ball 4. So the Reds 2 on, 2 out. And let's check in with our buddy Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break. Matt.
Tom, Twins and Rangers. Ian Kinsler has matched a season-high 7-game hitting streak with his 15th home run of the year. Oakland has already won today. Texas trying to win their 4th in a row to stay 6 up on the Swingin' A's out west. Now 2-0 Rangers in Arlington. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Tom and Tom in Cincinnati.
Not a bad week for Adrian Beltre. When you're in the same conversation or sentence with Joe D, things are going pretty well.
Most players would love to have that in a career.
Yep.
1 week. Wow. I think he just clinched Player of the Week honors.
Well, you're really going out on a limb there.
Thank you.
2-1 for Deanna Navarro. Reds just brought him up from their AAA affiliate in Louisville, Kentucky. Trying to get his career back on track here in 2012. A one-time All-Star with the Tampa Bay Rays. Garcia had nothing in 2.
Yeah, and just getting back to that role and at bat time, I really can't say enough about the quality of that at bat. It may not turn into a run, but what he did there was take 4 pitches just barely off the plate to make Jaime Garcia throw more pitches. And not only just more pitches, but more pitches out of the stretch with a runner in scoring position. Later in the game, those things can take a toll.
Navarro only 10 at-bats in a Reds uniform this year. Has 1 hit. That was a home run. Many around these parts were stunned when the Reds sent down their #1 prospect in their organization, who have been playing very little with the Major League club this year, Devin Mesoraco, former #1 pick. They still believe that he is the future behind the plate. But Ryan Hannigan has pretty much wrestled away that #1 everyday job.
Yeah, it's one of those positions, the catching position, I think shortstop as well. It's tough to break in that rookie season. Handling a veteran pitching staff, mostly veteran pitching staff here in Cincinnati. Navarro, obviously more experience.
Similar at bat as the one we saw to Roland, where Garcia got ahead and nibble, trying to get Navarro, in this case, to chase. And now the count is run full, and the runners get started on his 3-2 offering. Struck him out on a fastball in, and that'll end the inning. A hit, 2 left, still no score. We're back to Cincinnati after a word from your local Fox station. No scores. We're set to begin the top half of the 3rd inning. Top 2 teams inside the National League Central Division meeting here in the Queen City over the weekend. The Cardinals trailed last night 5-2 before erupting for 6 runs in the 6th inning en route to an 8-5 win. And big news on the Cardinal front. Another very disappointing outing last night by starter Lance Lynn. Now remember, he went to the All-Star game this year, but has struggled mightily over the second half. And there was talk about 10 days ago that the rookie Joe Kelly, they had to make a decision about who would stay in the rotation and who would go to the bullpen with the return of Garcia. Well, they went with Lynn. But Kelly was so impressive out of the Cardinal bullpen last night, as he was last Sunday in that 19-inning game, that Mike Matheny has flipped it around. Kelly now goes to the rotation, and Lance Lynn a part of the Cardinal bullpen. Fly ball into right. Bruce is there, and for a call, retired to begin the inning.
And easy to see why, Tom. Kelly last night at one point struck out 5 batters in a row, throwing the ball 94, 95 miles an hour. A real live arm. And Lance Lynn had really cruised through the early part of the season, looked terrific. But like a lot of young pitchers, you hit a wall at some point during the season, typically in these dog days of August. I think it's the right move. Doesn't mean he won't be back in the rotation, but for now, you've got Kelly replacing Lynn in the rotation, and Lynn will be a weapon out of the bullpen.
Now pitcher against pitcher, and both of them can swing the bat. Garcia 7 out of 26. Mike Leake has 12 hits, including a couple of home runs, and there you have it. A ball that should have been played perhaps by Frazier. That'll be scored, a base hit.
Watch this skip under the glove of Frazier there. He does have plenty of experience at first base throughout the minor leagues. Ball's well struck, though. As you mentioned, we're looking at two of the better hitting pitchers in the National League here in Jaime Garcia and Mike Leake. There's not an automatic out in the 9th spot in either lineup today.
One on, one out. Back to the top of the order we go to John Jay. He had a hit taken away on a nice pickup by the shortstop Kozai. Going to look at Chris Spire, the bench manager. The bench coach under the manager, Dusty Baker. Relaying the signs out there to the Reds defensively, and Navarro behind the plate.
I like to say when John Jay bats, it looks like he's rowing a boat. When he gets himself ready, almost like he's got an oar in his hands and not a bat, because he likes to kind of wave his hands around in the circle right before he gets to get set here. Watch him start rowing that boat right there. Actually,
sinking liner will be caught by Stubbs for the second out of the inning.
He was actually much bigger last year, and bigger still at the University of Miami, where he went to school. Just says it's something that he does. He's not even aware of what he's doing. It just comes naturally to him, but he does agree that he's actually cut down on it. It's nothing but a timing mechanism. Certainly works for him. He's really been a revelation in that leadoff spot for Mike Matheny.
Well, not only the leadoff spot, but taking over and finally getting that chance to play every day. Of course, he was sharing time, despite the fact that he played in more games than any Cardinal all of last year to John Jay. But of course, he wasn't a regular player until they traded away Colby Rasmus. That has turned out to be a great deal.
Great deal. And John Jay, he's used to being overshadowed. You know, in college, he was overshadowed by Ryan Braun, his teammate at Miami. Coming up in the system, overshadowed by Colby Rasmus.
On the ground, Phillips nearly lost that thing. And the inning is over. They had a man left. Middle of the third, no score. For Mike Leake against Jaime Garcia on the mound. Jaime Garcia against Mike Leake to begin this inning. Talked about Garcia being a good hitter. Banged one into right field, a base hit a moment ago. And another good hitter is Mike Leake. Couple of home runs already this year in this 2012 season. He got Atlanta back in the third week of May. His first career home run, and then in San Francisco in June against Matt Cain.
He can swing it, as you see right there. He doesn't hold back at all. He's a guy at Arizona State, actually, when Ike Davis was hurt for a couple of weeks. Played first base every day.
In that game when Leake had the home run against Cain and the Giants, Cincinnati won that game, and Leake had a complete game in a 5-1 win.
Now that's a little league game right there. That's Williamsport. You pitch a complete game and hit a home run? Come on. Not supposed to be that easy at this level.
Well, we talked about it, and both Garcia and Leake back it up into the corner. And Leake will slam on the brakes with a two-base hit.
See him just turn on an off-speed pitch, just gets by Carpenter. Just did a nice job of squaring that ball up on a two-strike count. He knows what he's doing handling the bat. You know, I asked him, I said, come on, admit it, don't you take some extra batting practice? And he said, you know what, I did my first year. I love to hit, but he said, I realized how long the season is, and I had to cut back a little bit.
Well, it's 40 base hits for Mike Leake since he came from Arizona State to the major leagues in 2010, and that's more than any pitcher in baseball. You know, the caveat to that is he has more hits than any pitcher in the game, and that first year, and I repeat the name Tom Verducci because you're the man who came up with the idea that's talked about so much right now with Steven Strasburg about the number of innings pitched. based on how many you threw the year before, along with age. And the Reds really slowed down the number of pitches and innings Leake was able to pitch through in that 2010 year.
Yeah, and I think probably at the time Mike Leake was frustrated. He was healthy in the big leagues, wants to keep pitching, but I think the Reds did well by him. You know, the statistics will show you that you take a young guy in the big leagues, 21, 22, 23, and you just keep pitching him and don't pay attention to his innings counts. Well, he may get through that season, but you tend to pay for it down the road, certainly that next season.
Liner and Cozart unable to get a bunt down and unable to advance Leake down to third. Well, let's check in with Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Tommy, Atlanta trying to interrupt the Giants' 5-game winning streak, and Jason Hayward doing his part with a 3-run shot against Madison Bumgarner, his 5th home run in 9 games in San Francisco. Braves have an early lead. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Tom, and Tom in Cincinnati.
All right, Matt Vasgersian, thank you very much. Drew Stubbs, a batter. Runner at second, 1 out in the inning. Ball 1. All right, Tom Verducci, I'm going to throw you on the spot. All the debate, the capital debate, they're calling it in this election year. Steven Strasburg, what would you do based on all your research with Strasburg?
Well, I think they're right to limit him to between 160 and 180 innings. He's coming off of Tommy John surgery. They certainly did that and worked out well for Jordan Zimmerman last year. That being said, I think there's a way to sort of massage the innings so you just don't hit that wall and say mid-September, as it appears he will do, where he's done for the season. I would skip him a start or two, give him extra days whenever I can. Make sure he throws his 180th inning in the postseason rather than mid-September.
2-1 on Stubbs.
The interesting thing to me is they talk about his innings, but he's actually only 105 pitches away from what Jordan Zimmerman threw last year. So he's already soon will go beyond the limit they put on Zimmerman in terms of pitches, which a lot of people think are more important than innings.
Stubbs did not agree with that call by Ted Barrett. He thought it was a high strike.
Yeah, an off-speed pitch up and away gets the call here. Just wanted to go back to the previous at bat, though, Tom, with Zach Cozart not being able to move that runner up either through a bunt or hitting the ball to the other side of the field.
Stubbs gone swinging, and there are 2 outs in the inning. Well, for those of us that see Cincinnati play regularly, if there is one deficiency that really stands out about this club during stretches of time, it is their inability to do some of the little things to win games. They pitch very well. Their bullpen is outstanding. Their offense is plenty good enough, especially with Votto. Their defense is the best in the league. But when it comes to moving runners with a bunt or a ground ball, they fall far short of even being good.
Now you've got this key at bat here with Brandon Phillips. You know, with Votto out, not your typical prototypical 3-hitter, but in this situation, I'd expect him to use the right side of the field. We saw him last night go the other way for 2 of his hits. He hasn't hit a home run in a month. Again, not your prototypical 3-hole hitter, but situational hitting. I actually like this matchup for the Reds. I think he's a terrific low ball hitter. You expect to get something down here from Garcia. And again, Garcia tends to go softer with runners in scoring position. Let that ball travel. Think other way.
0-2 on Phillips. Both pitchers on top of their game today in that column. 10 out of 12 first pitch strikes for Jaime Garcia. 10 of 11 for Mike Lee. You just said it, Tom Verducci. Think the other way, and this will plate the game's first run on a hit by Phillips. Nobody covering first base, and he will beat a diving Craig to the bag.
Well, again, we talked about the way Garcia has been going softer with runners in scoring position. Brandon Phillips does a nice job not getting out aggressively in front of that pitch. I'm actually not a big fan of this play right here where Brandon Phillips is running to make sure that ball is cut off to score the run. Should have been tagged out in this situation, but elusive enough to avoid the tag, I think.
Very, very close. Cardinals did not like the call.
And we see this a lot in baseball where the hitter with 2 outs will make sure he rounds the base aggressively to cut the ball off to make sure the run will score, essentially sacrificing that 3rd out to get the run home. I didn't think it was necessary there. I think with 2 outs, Leake is going to score on that hit regardless of whether he rounds the base aggressively or not, but he was able to save himself and keep the inning alive.
And now Ludwick, he singled to left field his first time up. You know, the more and more baseball you watch, Tom, I think you bring up a point that, you know, I've talked about seemingly for 25 years up in the booth. There are more plays like that where teams run themselves out of the final out of an inning and take away the chance of scoring more runs in an inning when they have no chance to throw the runner out at home plate. There was no way John Jay was going to throw Mike Leake out at home plate.
No, I mean, a hitter has to be almost like a defensive player where you do the calculus in terms of the speed of the hit and the speed of the runner and figure out the odds of scoring the run. I think that was 100% odds that Mike Leake was going to score on that hit with 2 outs. Now, less than 2 outs, maybe there's a play at the plate, but certainly with 2 outs running on the hit, that's a run in the bank for Cincinnati.
Diving play made by Carpenter down at 3rd, and that'll end the inning. But the Reds played the game's first run on a 2-out hit by Phillips. Today's game sponsored by DirecTV. Now NFL Sunday Ticket is included at no extra charge when you switch. And by Michelin, a better way forward. Of course, the NFL on Fox returns 2 weeks from tomorrow. Got our final preseason game here on Fox tomorrow afternoon. Talk more about that later. Reds lead 1-0. Cardinals have the heart of the order against Mike Leake. And it starts in a big way for Holiday. He'll be standing in scoring position with nobody out to start the 4th.
Well, first pitch fastball right here. Just no chance for Rolen to get this pitch. It was interesting. First time up, he started Holiday with the curveball. Cardinals are the most dangerous first pitch hitting team in the National League. They hit .376 on first pitches. They have the most hits on first pitches. And I think up till now, Leake has done a nice job attacking them with first pitch fastballs and curveballs, mixing it up with cutters. But on that one, Matt Holiday was ready. First pitch fastball.
And now the man we talked about, the leading hitter in all of Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position. And that's Alan Craig, better than .400 the batting average in those situations. Strike one. Cardinals have a hit in every inning, but the double by Holiday is the first of the leadoff variety. There you see top 3 in the National League. 2 of the 3 not in the lineup. Down the right field line towards a corner, and that's foul. Boy, does he hit the ball hard.
Well, this is why he's so dangerous with runners in scoring position. He uses the whole field. This barely misses being a run scoring double right here. Not a lot of foul room down there, but he found it. When you watch the Reds outfielders defend the Cardinals team, they basically don't move, and that's because even in the middle of the order, the Cardinal hitters will use the entire field. Beltran, Holiday, Craig. Basically, you have to play them straight up. You will not see overshifts against the middle of the Cardinals lineup, and I think that's what makes Craig especially a terrific hitter with runners in scoring position.
In the air, sinking liner, and Bruce, the diving play in right field. Well, he talked about this Cincinnati defense. Even without the Gold Glove winning Votto, they are rock solid everywhere.
Well, that's a great play, but it's a great play not because of the dive, but because of the first step reaction by Jay Bruce. Ball wasn't hit especially hard, kind of a little bit down on the handle. And Jay Bruce gets a great jump on this ball, and then the all-out dive.
Now Beltran, he swung at the first pitch his first time up and bounced out to second base. First time swinging this time. He'll bounce out to Frazier. 2 gone.
I mean, I think the Cardinals left the team bus running when they came to the ballpark today. I mean, listen, they've had great success, obviously, swinging at first pitches, but it's interesting that they really haven't changed their approach so far against Mike Leake. They're ready, packing anything that comes close first pitch. We've seen them swing not just at fastballs, but at breaking balls.
Well, the Reds had a leadoff double in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And the runner was still standing at second with 2 outs. They got a 2-out RBI single by Phillips. This Cardinal inning begins with a double. And they have Holiday now at 3rd with 2 out and looking for a knock from Schumacher, who had a hit his first time up. Leake works out of the regular windup. 2-0. Schumacher is deadly against right-handed pitching. Now, granted, he didn't have a home run this year, but this guy's a good hitter from the left side of the plate. I had to wonder if Leake's going to give him a ton to hit. You see Rowland playing in on the grass at 3rd. And this appears to be a pitch around with a right-handed batting Tony Cruz due up next.
No doubt about that, Tom. I mean, you just can't give in here. I mean, Schumacher, as you mentioned, great hitter against right-handed pitching. Play the percentages taken all the way there at 3-0. But I'd be surprised if he stays in the strike zone. I would expect this pitch to be on the outside edge of the plate for Mike Leake.
Well, he threw him a strike. Schumacher hit it hard right at Kozai, so the Cardinals waste a leadoff double from Holiday. Reds 1, St. Louis nothing. Baseball presented by Budweiser. We welcome you to sold-out Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Top 2 teams in the National League Central. The Reds going into play today, 6 games ahead of the defending world champion Redbirds. And a 1-0 lead as Cincinnati bats against Jaime Garcia in the last of the 4th inning. A pleasure to be joined out of the Cardinal dugout, coming off his 4th complete game of the season, a 5-hit shutout against Houston on Tuesday, matching a career-high 12 strikeouts. Adam Wainwright. That's not a bad day, Mr. Wainwright.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
You know, you look at coming back, and we were talking a little while ago, and the situation obviously is different. You're a guy that's been around a number of years now. It's hard to believe, going back to that rookie year you were pitching out of the bullpen, but coming back from Tommy John surgery, do you feel like you've gotten stronger and stronger? I mean, do you feel that way as this year has gone on?
I really do. Headed into spring training, I felt pretty strong. But the further and further I got extended out, the just weaker I became, my stuff really started lagging. And throughout the course of this season, I felt like I've got better and better each month.
Here you talked about Chris Carpenter, a guy we saw on the field last night playing catch. I know you were in the seat of a spectator last year down the stretch, and maybe there's a chance that Chris can provide something here. What do you think about Chris Carpenter, his road trying to get back to the Cardinals, and what he can bring this team?
Well, I never put any limits on him because you never know what he can do. He's been through a lot of injuries and trials, but he always comes back amazingly and helps this team in ways that we never thought he could. So he's such a competitor. He's such a great talent on the mound, and he's such a great guy to have in our clubhouse and on our bench. So, of course, we'd love to have him back, no doubt.
You know, Adam, nobody likes being injured and missing an entire year like you did last year. But oftentimes when you're standing off to the side, you're able to get a perspective that maybe guys that are out there grinding and playing every day, or pitchers every 5 days, or guys in the bullpen. You know, when you look back on the run you guys made, starting roughly about a year ago this time, and now facing not quite the same situation because of the additional wild card, but You know, is there some perspective you gained from watching it last year about this team and about your teammates that perhaps you can impart on them this year?
Well, you know, the great thing about our team this year is that, you know, we largely are the same team this year as we were last year when we won. So, you know, you lose Albert, obviously, and Chris is not pitching for us. But, you know, we replace with a guy named Carlos Beltran, who's been doing pretty good.
Relax.
Jeez. And lose my train of thought there. But, you know, we have the same guys here. We know we can go out there and we can win. We have the talent here to do it. We just got to go out there and execute.
Was that Carp you're trying to keep in line there?
Kyle Osh. I'm going to get him good.
You're a lot bigger than he is.
That's right.
Here's a drive into right center. Nice play by Jay. Well, short and sweet. Adam, good luck tomorrow. Good luck the rest of the way.
Okay.
I know everybody's thrilled that you're back and healthy again.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cardinals back, top half of the fifth inning. Reds with a 1-0 lead. Latter third in the Cardinal batting order. It starts with a 7-hole hitter, Tony Cruz, and it's in there a strike. You know, so much has been made about this series with a 7-game spread between the two teams. Kicking off the opener last night, won by St. Louis to get it to 6. But certainly going a little further, Tom Verducci, is this 10-game road trip the Cardinals are embarking on. You go 3 here, you go 3 in Pittsburgh, and the Cardinals have yet to play the Washington Nationals this year. They have a 4-game series to wrap up this 10-game trip. And that one hammered into center field by Cruz. Second straight inning, the Cardinals have a leadoff man aboard.
Yeah, it's such a quirk of the schedule that they're playing the Washington Nationals for the first time in a series that takes them into September, when, of course, you get expanded rosters. It doesn't seem fair to me that you're playing them with a 40-man roster. Most teams don't bring up 40, but the rules change. You see the pitching probables. They're not going to miss too many good pitchers on this trip either. And it was interesting when Mike Matheny had his usual pre-series meeting yesterday before the game last night. He didn't mince any words. He let the team know about the importance not just of this series, but of this road trip. It can be a season-defining trip for the Cardinals.
You know, baseball is a funny game in that regard. You flip it around to the Reds. They had not played the Philadelphia Phillies the entire year. But, you know, it's so funny. It's not always who, but when. And I think everybody would agree you would have rather played Philadelphia already this year than you would now. The Reds just had a 4-game series there in Philly that they split. But they saw Hamels, they saw Halladay, they saw Cliff Lee. You know, now at the end of the year, you're going against the Washington Nationals. And maybe you don't see Strasburg. Here's a base hit into center field by for a call. And now the pitcher coming up with an opportunity to advance the runners with a bunt. Fox Saturday Baseball next week. 3 games, all with playoff implications. Cardinals and the Nationals, Phillies against Atlanta, the Angels against Seattle. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by MasterCard. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. It's a big bunt right here. Bunt opportunity by Garcia. Garcia had a base hit his first time up. He only has 1 sacrifice.
I still think, you know, you see Jose Oquendo now is going to talk with Garcia. I think you have to stick with the bunt at this place, and I really think you have to go to third base with the bunt as well. Watch Todd Frazier rolled up already. He'll come even closer on the pitch to the plate. Bunt the ball hard enough to make Roland field the ball at third base.
Should be noted too that Leake is an outstanding athlete on the mound. Garcia shortens up and bunts it foul.
Well, it's part of the National League game. If you're a pitcher here, you're one of the 9 in the lineup. Your job is to move the runners up. You know, after watching Garcia go after those 2 pitches there with the bunt, I would take it off at this point. A lot of pitchers, you go after it confidently, you think they can still get it down with 2 strikes. I just don't see that with Garcia. He'll show bunt here. Wouldn't surprise me if he pulls it back and get another conversation from Jose Oquendo. Get the old verbal sign. And if you're Mike Leake, you use this as an opportunity to throw a ground ball.
He's going to swing away, and he swings and misses. He's out of there on strikes. Go to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for a game break.
Well, Tommy, the blockbuster deal between the Red Sox and the Dodgers has been approved by the commissioner's office. And with the private airplane commissioned to carry the new payroll responsibilities to L.A. about to land in about an hour, Adrian Gonzalez is starting, playing first base and batting cleanup for the Dodgers against Josh Johnson tonight. Back to Tom and Tom in Cincinnati.
Dodgers doing it first class. A tweet from Nick Punto.
He's not kidding. That looks like a nice plane they sent for him. You know what? When you can pick up about $260 million worth of salaries, what's a private jet to go pick up the players?
That's tip money. 0-1. And a line into center field. A base hit by Jay. And the Cardinals have the bases loaded with one out. Singles by Cruz, and for a call, Garcia failing to advance the runners, but Jay loads them up.
Yeah, just a sinker that just didn't get down enough from Mike Leake. Ball was hit so hard. Cruz had to stop at second base to make sure the ball got down. But again, if you're Mike Leake, you're a ground ball pitcher, you always have the confidence that you're one pitch away from getting out of an inning. And that's the ground ball pitch.
Matt Carpenter singled to right center field in the first inning, and a ground ball at Brandon Phillips, who threw him out into third. They are loaded for the Redbirds. 0-1.
See the shadows here. The Cardinals don't seem to have any problems tracking the baseball, but certainly it's starting in shadow and getting into the bright sunlight as it nears the plate. I would imagine it would get worse as the shadow that right now is just sort of behind home plate begins to creep more over the batter's box, where you have balls coming in and out of shadows. Right now, once it gets out of that shadow on the mound, hitters are getting a good look at it.
Bases loaded for the Cardinals. One out, 1-1. Leak against Carpenter. And a fly ball. Will they test the arm of Bruce? One of the game's best. Here comes the throw to the plate. And the runner is safe as it gets away from Navarro. And they're looking around. Leak's going to hold the ball. So the game is tied on a sac fly RBI by Carpenter. And the other runners advance as well.
It's a good throw by Bruce, just unlucky. It's a little bit into the runner. Good strong one-hop throw. You see Navarro has to go behind the runner to try to field the hop. If he comes up in front of the plate, he's got to deal with a shorter hop, which is difficult to catch. Trying to play almost like an infielder, trying to play the better hop. Went behind the runner, and unlucky. Ball hits the runner.
So runners stand at third and second for Call and Jay from Matt Holliday as we begin anew here in the fifth. A 1-1 affair. Nothing in one on Holliday. Breaking ball, and it's popped up behind the plate and will drift in amongst the fans, and Holliday behind an account to Leak at 0-2. Yadier Molina sitting this one out. The man replacing him started this scoring inning in the 5th with a base hit into center field. And the 0-2 to Holiday. Up and away. Bottom part of the order doing the damage. Cruz a base hit from a 7-hole. Number 8 hitter for a call a hit. And after Garcia struck out, Jay a base hit, followed by the sac fly from Carpenter to tie the game.
Let's see if he goes back to the breaking ball here after just showing him that fastball away. Showed him another one. He's had success with Holiday today on the breaking ball, getting him out on his front foot. Both those fastballs, good 2-strike fastballs, out of the zone. Still think his way to get Holiday here in this situation is to go back to the breaking ball. Trust your catcher, put it in the dirt, bounce it.
1-2 pitch. Try to get him on that fastball away. Had a lot of sink to it.
Yeah, a little sink and cut to it, outside corner. Good placement. Good take by Holiday. Pitch is just off the plate.
Second and third, 2 out, 2-2 pitch. Trying to get him to chase a breaking ball there. He doesn't. So his bat quite similar to the one we saw earlier from another veteran, Scott Rowland.
Yeah, that's the pitch I thought he wanted to get to. Set up by the fastballs, just didn't execute the pitch. That pitch was really a ball out of his hand, so Holiday wasn't even tempted to swing at it. Start the pitch in the zone, let it ride out of the zone, but that one started outside of the zone, never in the zone.
Three balls, 2 strikes on Holiday, and here it comes. And hard hit, Cozart. What a nice play that is, and that'll end the inning. So the failed bunt attempt could come back to haunt the Cardinals in this one. It should have been a 2-run inning, but they do tie the game after 4.5. Support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. Entrance to Great American Ballpark, the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. They're off to the left-hand side. 1-1 game. And game 2 of this 3-game weekend series. 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order. Navarro, Leakin, and Cozart against Garcia. Reds got their run in the 3rd on a double by Mike Leake. He scored on a 2-out hit by Brandon Phillips. The Cardinals have just tied the game on 3 hits and a sac fly. But again, you get back to that failed bunt attempt by Jaime Garcia, and just looking at the way the rest of the inning would have played out, you never know. Then maybe they walk John Jay and pitch to Carpenter to load the bases. But the bottom line is, if Garcia gets a bunt down, if it played out like it did, Jay's single knocks in at least 1, and the fly ball gives him a 1-run lead.
There's no question. A lot of times you think about a bunt as sort of a defensive offensive play, because typically you play for 1 run, but that bunt, if executed, sets up a big inning for the Cardinals. No guarantee it would happen, but certainly 2nd, 3rd, and 1 out does put a big inning in order.
Navarro stranded 2 in the 2nd inning, striking out against Garcia. Ball 3. Second time Navarro's run the count full, and then Garcia ran a fastball in on him to strike him out his only other at bat.
It's going here, sinker away. They got away with it. Wasn't actually executed as he wanted, but enough away to get the out.
Talked about the NFL on Fox, and our coverage of the preseason continues tomorrow. Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos taking on Frank Gore and the 49ers. Coverage begins tomorrow, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, only on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Pam Oliver and company out there for that one. Of course, the Niners reaching the NFC Championship game a year ago under Jim Harbaugh. And Peyton Manning, after all those great seasons in Indianapolis, now in Denver, and Leak is 2 for 2. That's a really good athlete.
Yeah, first pitch fastball right here by Mike Leake. He's ready all the time, but especially first pitch. Once again, not quite the same sink on that sinker as Garcia would like. Leake takes advantage. Again, he's such a good athlete, Tom. If Kozar can get one into the gap, you don't think about a pitcher scoring from first base on any kind of a hit, but he runs the bases well.
Sure does. In fact, Dusty Baker believes that if you had a straight foot race of this entire Cincinnati team, the League probably finishes in the top 5 or 6. A lot of people think that Drew Stubbs would be the runaway winner. Most would tell you Aroldis Chapman wins that race.
I'd like to see that race. Can we arrange for that, like pre-game one night? Charge admission for that?
Down to third. They get one, and they cannot turn the double play. Well, you can't draw it up any better than that.
Just the throw takes Schumacher a little bit towards the first base side. Just did well to hang on to this ball enough to get the out. It's definitely control the ball, loses it on the transfer. Just that throw from Matt Carpenter, just enough offline. He does play multiple positions, but that's his natural position at third base. Obviously, not a lot of innings there this year with David Freese.
So now Stubbs, who has struck out twice today after fanning his final 3 at-bats in the game here last night. Of course, Stubbs led the major leagues in strikeouts a year ago. One game. We're in the bottom half of the 5th inning.
I see Garcia paying attention to Kozar here. Reds obviously not a big-time stolen base type of team. Certainly with 2 outs here, a play could be on. Just making sure that Kozar knows that he's aware he's over there. Keep him close.
You and I were talking during the commercial break, and I think both of us in the games we've seen Kozar, he is such an impressive, savvy rookie player. You know, they've really put a lot on his shoulders this season. When the season began, Brandon Phillips was the Reds' leadoff hitter after finishing with better than a .350 average in that role through the final month and a half of last season, and that was a game plan going into this year before everything changed after the injury to Scott Rowland. And they put Kozar near the top of the order, and that's been a tall order.
I'll tell you one compliment I like to give shortstops, and he certainly showed it, is to call them a 2-out shortstop. When that out needs to be made, especially with runners on base, you want a shortstop, you're 99.9% sure will make the out. And he showed that in that last inning on a ball that was absolutely scorched. Made a difficult play look easy. Very impressive for a young player. I agree, he's a little miscast as a hitter at the top of the lineup. It worked for this team as constituted. I think he can be a big-time run producer deeper in a lineup, say in a 6 or 7 hole.
Get a look at those shadows that you brought up earlier. And Stubbs has now struck out in 6 consecutive at-bats. He is a real lightning rod for the fans here, and you can hear it. 1-1 game. MasterCard, proud supporter of Stand Up to Cancer. And by Share Everything, it's a plan that revolves around you, only from Verizon. Take a look at our Jeep game summary. Brandon Phillips, a 2-out single to drive in a run in the 3rd. Carpenter, a sac fly to tie it in the 5th. And Barry Larkin had his jersey retired before the game here today, joining Fred Hutchinson, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, Sparky Anderson, his idol Davey Concepcion, Ted Kluszewski, Frank Robinson, Tony Perez, along with Jackie Robinson, as a jersey's retired in Cincinnati history. Barry's family throwing out the ceremonial first pitch, and Barry right in the middle of it all. Oh, what a great player he was. Could beat you in every way there was, and there aren't many of those guys that you can say that about in the history of the game. Defense, stealing a base, getting a hit, hitting a home run. He could do it all.
I can't think of anything Barry didn't do in the game, Tom. I mean, really think about it. You mentioned all his skills. Definitely a five-tool player. Won an MVP, won a world championship, Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, All-Star games. One of the most decorated players of his era, if not all time.
And for those of you, again, that weren't with us, especially proud was Larkin. He was born here and grew up in his town rooting for the Reds and the Big Red Machine back in the 1970s. You know, down on the field, I was kind of ribbing you guys a little bit being from this area, but they had so many of his teammates who were other guys that were born and raised here in this town. Buddy Bell, Dave Parker, Billy Doran, Ron Oster. I mean, all those guys that Larkin played with, that he happened to grow up around. David Justice, although not here today, another opponent of Larkin growing up in this area.
That's one of those great compliments that you can give anybody, is when he's done playing, his name continues to come up as in, that guy reminds me of Barry Larkin, or he'll be the next Barry Larkin.
Well, as a Cardinal tie that Barry Larkin talked about, it meant something to him, but the Reds happened to be playing the Cardinals in this series because, when Ozzie Smith was wrapping up his Hall of Fame brilliant career, Larkin was the next, maybe not acrobatic, Ozzie Smith, but the next guy that would take that mantle as the best shortstop in the National League.
No question about that. Would have had even more Gold Gloves if not for the reputation of Ozzie Smith, probably the greatest defensive shortstop in baseball history.
2 up, 2 down as Beltran has gone on strikes, and here's Schumacher, 1 of 2. To Schumacher. Teams will wrap it up tomorrow afternoon. Adam Wainwright against Homer Bailey. And a 1-2 delivery. On the ground to the glove side of Rowland, and Leak with a strong 1-2-3-6. Part of the order comes up for Cincinnati, starting with Brandon Phillips in a 1-1 game.
The blockbuster trade between the Red Sox and Dodgers has been approved by the commissioner's office. GM Ben Sherrington on the moves in Boston's disappointing season.
It didn't work out. There's not one reason for it. Injuries played a role. There are other things. It's at a point where change was needed, and so this is part of that change. This is the first step towards that change.
Adrian Gonzalez is expected to make his Dodger debut tonight, batting cleanup against Josh Johnson and the Marlins, as we send you back out to the ballpark.
All right, Matt Vasgersian, thank you. Tom Verducci, your initial reaction to that blockbuster, and I mean blockbuster, nearly $260 million being taken on in terms of salary by the Dodgers.
Well, obviously it impacts the race immediately, not just the National League West, but the wild card race as well. The Dodgers certainly a better team now. But I think it also bodes well for the Dodgers in terms of their future. They will be a financial beast under this new ownership.
That one shot down in the corner by Brandon Phillips to start this inning in a 1-1 tie. And Phillips is going to slam on the brakes wisely so. A double for Phillips, his second hit today.
Pitch looked like it was up and away. Certainly it was. Phillips jumps on it. Again, I've liked his approach the last couple of nights. You talk about a guy with no home runs in August, but here, even early in the count, not just on a 2-strike count, taking the ball the other way.
And Dusty Baker told us before the game today, when Joey Votto comes back, Brandon Phillips is going back to the leadoff spot. That's one thing about Phillips. You know, obviously Cardinal fans don't like him much after the fight they had here a couple of years ago and the things he had to say about the Cardinals at the time. But you know, you certainly have to admire the versatility of Phillips, not only the game's best defender at second base, but I mean, he'll bat anywhere in the lineup no matter where you ask him to hit.
Well, I think that's a great point, and I think the emergence of this guy up right now, Ryan Ludwick, as well as Todd Frazier, allows Dusty now to have the middle of the lineup covered with power and RBI production and afford to move Phillips to the top of the lineup when Votto gets back.
And really, I don't think you can say it enough of truly what an unbelievable job this Reds team has done without Joey Votto. When he went down after the final game of that series against St. Louis to finish off the series sweep, the only talk around here, and you and I touched on it earlier, was could they just survive? They had a one-game lead. Could they play 500? They have gone 26-13 without arguably the best hitter in the league.
I certainly think that reflects well on the manager as well, Dusty Baker, besides the players.
You got to remember, Votto was on pace to break the all-time record in the history of baseball for doubles in a season of over 65. But look what they've done. Team average up, runs per game up. Votto has been out on the field the last couple of days in the batting cage. As that one is shot into right field, that'll be a base hit. Phillips had to make sure, and he will advance 90 feet. So the go-ahead run is that distance away for Cincinnati here in the 6th inning.
Well, Tom, we've seen some issues with the Reds without Joey Votto, but certainly Ryan Ludwick has covered them up. You see him taking batting practice last night as well as today, getting back on track. You know, he's been out for so long now, I don't think there's any question. He's going to have to go play some minor league games, see some pitching, 3 or 4 games. Probably you're looking at a September 1st return for Joey Votto.
And that would be right smack dab in the middle of their upcoming trip that'll begin on Monday night in Arizona. Play 3 games there and then have an off day, and perhaps those 3 days when Votto will be on rehab. But first things first, 1-1 game. They're on the corners with nobody out. Todd Frazier down a strike. Talked about Frazier in Votto's absence. How good has he been? .324 batting average, 8 home runs and 29 runs batted in. Garcia with 5 strikeouts in the game. He's retired Frazier twice, once on a fly ball to left, the other on a ground ball to short.
And primarily he's gone soft with Frazier. You see Frazier has been out on front of the changeups and breaking balls. He's a hands hitter. His body can leak sometimes. He keeps his hands back, and he'll flip that ball with his hands more so than his legs.
It's a foul ball. You know, you and I were talking about this today with Dusty Baker. Frazier is one of those guys that has completely surprised Dusty Baker how good he's been. And a lot of it has to do with swings like that last one. Frazier is capable of looking as bad on a single swing or even at a bat or two as any batter in the league.
He has a very unorthodox swing. Even when he squares up a pitch, you watch his back foot, and it's really unusual. You won't find anybody else. I don't know how he took that pitch right there, but he did. Jaime Garcia looked in, hoping Ted Barrett would change his call. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but Todd, this ball is right right on the inside edge of the plate. Good location. Just doesn't get the call.
One and two to Frazier. Runners on the corners, none out. And a high bouncer that'll bring in the run. They get one. And safe is the call at first. So Frazier will get credit with a run batted in, plating Phillips. And it's a 2-1 Cincinnati lead.
Yeah, just too much airtime on this bounce to Furcal here. Cardinals did everything right. Good turn by Schumacher. Strong throw. Craig thought they had him. So did Jaime Garcia. Let's take another look right here. Boy, that's close. You want to be an umpire, Tom? Without
no
replay?
how, no way. I think it's gotten so bad, you know, as a summer job, you know, I'd umpire some games or referee some soccer games, you know, that kind of thing, pick up a few bucks. Like the way some of the parents are anymore, I don't know if I'd want to be an umpire at that. And everybody at home knows exactly what I'm talking about. Like you know, your guys are now off to college. You know, my guys are 9 and 7. So I see it all the time.
That's where the pressure is.
And I'm one of those coaches.
But I'll tell you a quick story. At spring training, I actually umpired a major league game.
Really?
Yes, 9 innings, 3 innings each at first, second, third. And what really got my attention was the speed of the game when you're at field level.
This one is clobbered to the seats and right by Bruce. Home run number 27 for Jay Bruce, and it's a 3-run Reds lead.
Well, we talked about Garcia's role. Don't give up souvenirs. There's one right here, although it almost got wet in the river back there. This ball was absolutely crushed. Only the 3rd home run off Garcia this year on a ball up in the zone. And you certainly see some growth with Jay Bruce against left-handed pitching. The average is still down, but that's his 9th home run this year against left-handed pitching. You see a lot of improvement there with Jay Bruce against left-handers.
And that's the one thing the Reds, among many reasons, you know, this is such a young team. You talk about a guy like Bruce. We showed you the note earlier. Only Bruce and Frank Robinson started their career as Cincinnati Reds with 20 or more home runs in each of their first 5 years. And Bruce is 25 years old. I mean, if somehow, some way he continues to get more consistent. He's on his way to 35, 40 home runs already with 120 of them in his short major league career. Well, it's scary to think about how good this Reds team conceivably could be in many, many years to come. 4/5 of their starting rotation is 26 or younger.
That was an impressive stat we just saw. The most home runs by a right fielder since 2008, especially when you're talking about, as you said, a very young hitter. And typically, as players age, their batting averages tend to go down for a lot of reasons, but their power tends to go up. And that's generally due to knowing when to let it fly, what counts, what pitches, just the role of experience that plays with power. But for Jay Bruce, what I love about his power, Tom, is that it's what I call easy power. There's not a lot of effort to his swing.
Charlie Manuel, the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, is really essentially a hitting coach. Just loves talking about hitting. Just raves about Jay Bruce's swing. And he did from the moment that Jay Bruce showed up in the big leagues. Just not a lot of effort. Real simple swing, but tremendous power. He can hit him as far as anybody.
Take a look at our Lexus in-game box score. Some crooked numbers being put up here in the Reds' 6th inning. Started with a double by Phillips, who's also knocked in a run today. Frazier, an RBI in this inning, and Bruce, the long ball, Leak, a couple of hits. That is the first home run, by the way, that Garcia has allowed to a left-handed batter this season. That one hit on a line to Beltran, 2 out. Brandon Dixon, just brought up from the minor leagues before the game yesterday, begins to throw in the St. Louis bullpen. Well, we really enjoyed our time today with Mike Matheny. Well, Tom, you and I have had him very early in the year. This his rookie year as a manager, first year managing at any level. Was a surprise choice. I think it stunned everybody in baseball when he was a guy named to replace the future Hall of Fame manager Tony La Russa. But you can really see a lot of growth just in Mike Matheny from April until now. That ball is hit hard, but Beltran there, inning over. A 3-run 6 highlighted by a 2-run big fly from Bruce. And we're back to Cincinnati after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by Budweiser. Mike Leake spotted to a 1-0 lead. Back in the 3rd inning, Cardinals tied it in the 5th. Tie is broken in the Reds' 6th. Scoring 3, and that's the spread as the Cardinals bat here in the 7th, and Leake still out there. Of course, with this Cardinal team, and the Reds learned the hard way last night, a 3-run lead is never safe, especially in this ballpark and the way this lineup is put together. Cardinals scored 6 times after being down by 3 in the 6th inning last night. Well, Garcia standing in the on-deck circle and down 3 in the 7th. You don't figure him to bat.
Now, generally in the National League, if you're a starting pitcher and you're trailing, you're not going to take your 3rd at bat.
Breaking ball for a call, down and in, 1 ball and 1 strike. Of course, it was just part of the batting order that led to the Cardinals' only run against Leake back in the 5th inning. Cruz started that inning with a hit. For a call, followed with a hit. After Garcia couldn't put down a bunt, they got a hit from Jay. And then a sac fly off the bat of Matt Carpenter. Reds have action in their bullpen despite the fact that Leake is at 77 pitches. That's a veteran left-hander they acquired during the offseason from the Cubs, Sean Marshall.
You know, it's that time of year, Tom, where the games take on a little more urgency. We saw that last night where Mike Matheny had his bullpen up in the 2nd inning. Dusty Baker bringing his infield in with no outs in the middle innings. Games take a little more urgency now.
Reds pitching coach Brian Price, what an outstanding job he has done here since coming over 3 years ago. Such a young staff, not only through their rotation outside of Arroyo, but even down into their bullpen. Chapman still so young. And they brought in Jonathan Broxton at the trade deadline to give him some added firepower and some added veteran leadership down there.
You would think here that Matheny might want to start the runner here on the full count. Leak not really typically a strikeout pitcher.
But it goes foul out of play.
Call handles the bat so well. It's really not about the speed of the runner on first when you're talking about starting a runner. It's more about the batter-pitcher matchup and whether you figure you're going to get contact. If you don't figure you're going to get contact, doesn't matter really the speed of the runner at first. You're more likely to hold him. But I think in this situation here, he's got confidence that Furcal's going to put this ball in play.
Runner going again. He does put it in play, and it's over the head of Frazier, and advancing on first to third is Cruz. So the bottom part of the order again with a spark for St. Louis against Leak. They're on the corners with nobody out, and Shane Robinson will come up and pinch hit for Jaime Garcia. It's time for the Just for Men Keep Your Edge spotlight, just as the Reds give and get an edge from Mike Leake. You can get your edge with Just for Men mustache and beard. Leake at the plate, a couple of hits, scored a run, and on the mound pitching into the seventh here so far has only allowed one run.
We talked at the top about Mike Leake, mix master. He's done a good job mixing his pitches. The double-digit grounders, when he gets 10 ground balls, not necessarily 10 ground ball outs, but 10 ground balls, he's 5-2. Anything short of that, he's 0-6. Well, his last out of the last inning, the 6th inning, was his 10th ground ball. Mike Leake is a guy who's going to give up hits. The ball is going to be put in play against Mike Leake, and in this case, I think, look at his pitch count here, certainly manageable. Fatigue should not be an issue. I think Brian Price just giving him a little moment there, gather himself, remind him, concede the runner on third, and throw a ground ball in this situation. He'll trade the run for a double play.
Garcia goes 6, allows 7 hits, 4 earned runs, and leaves trailing 4-1. And this could be that double play, although slowly hit. They turn it. What a turn by Phillips at second base. No argument from Robinson. Down there at first, a run scores to make it 4-2.
Well, you said it. Great turn. Great feed by Kozar. We don't want to lose track of that. Watch how quickly he gets rid of the ball right on target. And the ball, it almost just bounces out of his glove. Brandon Phillips, the way he gets it out so quickly, gets the double play.
Well, there have been 3 or 4 plays over there at first base for Brian Runge that have been mighty close. The tag on Phillips earlier, the similar call there on Frazier, although he was ruled safe in the bottom of the 6th inning, and that one so close with Shane Robinson. Off the glove of Frazier. So now the tying run comes to the plate.
And it's the second time we've seen Frazier go to the backhand and not be able to corral the ball. I'm sure he feels like he should have had that one. Not hit especially hard. Ball came up. Just off the end of the glove. Dusty Baker's not going to take any chances right here with Mike Leake extending this inning.
Well, they got a gutsy effort today from Mike Leake. So Leake will leave to a standing ovation. Marshall comes on from the bullpen. Entered by Mike Leake, but only 2 runs thus far. John Jay is his over at first base. And now it's left-hander Sean Marshall, who's been rock solid out of the Reds bullpen. Low ERA, began the year, you may remember, as their closer. They had signed Ryan Madsen during the offseason to be their closer, and he was injured the very first day of spring training, undergoing Tommy John elbow surgery. And the only pitch he throws will be the final out in the inning. Cardinals get one. They stand and stretch in Cincinnati, leaking the Reds with a 2-run lead. Sponsored by Lexus. The Golden Opportunity sales event is here. And by Prudential. Prudential. Bring your challenges. Early evening upon us here in Cincinnati. Reds bat in the bottom of the 7th against a new pitcher. Right-hander Brandon Dixon, just brought up from the minor leagues yesterday. Strike one to Zach Kozak. Dixon made a pair of release appearances earlier this season. That was back in May. He has been primarily a starter, their AAA affiliate in Memphis, Tennessee. 2-1 to Kozak.
Guy who's throwing the ball really well down there in AAA. See Broxton getting ready for the Reds. As you mentioned, starting pitcher, very good location, good control, good movement. Not showing it right here out of the box, but generally around the plate, not with overpowering stuff. Low 90s, good changeup.
Kozak pops it up, a 3-1 pitch to the right side of the infield. Schumacher there, 1 out. Well, on Wednesday night, Budweiser hosted a Made in MLB Fan Cave concert featuring the rock band The Walkmen to celebrate its renewal as the official beer sponsor of Major League Baseball, and nothing goes better together than Budweiser and baseball. Have you been to the Fan Cave, Tom Verducci?
I have not been to the Fan Cave.
I can't believe of all the guys out there, you have not been there. I mean, you're not all that far away from there.
I'll have to stop by.
I mean, you have been Mr. Baseball at Sports Illustrated how many years now?
Long time. I don't want to say how many years.
All right, well, you know, and now, you know, MLB Network, and you're on Fox. And
I'm always at the ballpark. I got to find a way to get to the Fan Cave.
One bounce foul, 0-2.
You know, getting back to that at bat that Carpenter had. Marshall did a nice job, one pitch in the inning there, but left on left, that's a tough matchup for Carpenter. I gotta believe you have to go back to the health of David Freese. We talked about at the top, got hit by the pitch on the hand, wrist hand area last night. And I gotta believe in that situation, if he's fully healthy, he can take that at bat.
Kozak down to begin the inning, and now Stubbs has struck out for the 4th straight time today and 7th time in a row overall.
Yeah, a lot of these have been on changeups. Just the guy who's caught in between, behind on fastballs, ahead on the off-speed pitches. Every hitter goes through it. This is a deep one for Drew Stubbs.
7 straight strikeouts. Matches a major league long for this 2012 season. You know, natural reaction, I think, for a lot of people out there watching the game, not necessarily here in St. Louis or in Cincinnati. You know, you got a Reds team here that's 24 games over 500, having a great year. Sellout crowd, beautiful day. You're in front here in the 7th inning, and you're booing one of the hometown players. But that really is something that here in Cincinnati, and Brandon Phillips got upset about it earlier this season. I mean, if you're playing well, then, you know, you're playing well. And if you're not, they're going to let you know. And I brought up earlier that Stubbs, more than any player by far on this Reds team, is a lightning rod for Reds fans, because he has been blessed with such unbelievable talent. And they keep waiting and waiting and waiting for this former #1 pick out of the University of Texas to be what everybody thinks he should be.
Yeah, the skills are certainly there. You know, he's a very good hitter against left-handed pitching. You didn't see that earlier in the at-bats against Garcia, but you mentioned it, the skills are there. I mean, he's really their best on base threat, patrols center field as well as anybody in this league in terms of covering ground. Right now he's just in bad place offensively, and he's prone to these streaks because he is a big swing and miss guy. He's also prone to have the hot streaks too, where the ball can leave the yard. You have to live with the mistakes, knowing the good side is around the corner at some point. I actually think in a perfect world the Reds would have a left-handed complement in center field for Drew Stubbs to give him some days against tough right-handed pitching, just to give him a little bit protection, not to turn him into a platoon player, but just to give a little protection.
High ball in the air off the bat of Phillips in a deep right center field. Jay at the wall, and Brandon Phillips makes it a 5-2 game. Well, what a day Phillips is having. A single, a double, and now a home run.
Yeah, nice approach, Brandon Phillips there. Hitting the ball out the other way, certainly can do that in this park and get rewarded for a fly ball to right center with a home run. First of the month for Brandon Phillips, long time coming there, but more importantly, I think he looks very locked in the last few nights. Brandon Dixon got an idea of the dimensions of Great American Ballpark right there. I'm sure he thought off the bat there was a chance that ball's off the wall, a double perhaps. Not here.
I still love the comments made earlier this year by Freddie Gonzalez, manager of the Atlanta Braves, and of course they're having an excellent season. They would be in the wild card right now if the season came to an end. And you know, he watched the Reds hit home run after home run after home run in a 4-game sweep here earlier this year. And you know, some of those that follow the Braves in their press corps asked Gonzalez, said, boy, you know, it's Great American Ballpark, bandbox, et cetera, et cetera. And Freddie Gonzalez looked at all of them and said, well, I don't know if you're watching the same game I'm watching, but our batters bat in this ballpark too. So why aren't we hitting home runs?
That's a great point, and I'll go back to the job that Brian Price has done with this pitching staff. You know, for years in Atlanta, before the new stadium, they called it the launching pad, and then they got a bunch of pitchers in there named Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, and all of a sudden it was no longer called the launching pad. And I think this Red staff has done a great job in this ballpark.
Ludwick at 2 out hitting the left field. That's his 3rd hit today. You know, and that is why I think, Tom, and you and I talked about this before the game and even a little bit last night. That's why I think there was so much anger and venom, and who it's directed at or to, it really doesn't matter. It's old news, the old, you know, water under the bridge, so to speak. But when you think about this ballpark and being the most offensive-friendly ballpark in the entire National League, among the top 2 in all of Major League Baseball, when Johnny Cueto did not make the All-Star team this year, pitching over half of his starts in this ballpark, where his ERA is 2.26, I think everybody who follows National League Baseball just threw their hands in the air and said, you have got to be kidding.
Yeah, you know, I thought every year, you know, there's people deserving of making the team who don't get on the team, but I thought this year that was the one that stood out the most to me, Johnny Cueto. And I think your point about the ballpark factor here should be taken into consideration. I mean, he had the numbers to be on the team anyway. To me, that was a clincher.
And again, to give you an idea, all pitchers that pitch at Great American Ballpark since this ballpark opened, the average earned run average of pitchers in this ballpark is almost 4.5. Cueto's career in this ballpark ERA is under 2.5.
Well, he's certainly right there in the Cy Young Award discussion. No question about that.
But, of course, all of that is old news. It was a big story at the time because a lot of it centered, again, getting back to the rivalry between the Reds and the Cardinals and the fact that Tony La Russa was a manager of the National League All-Star team. And Dusty Baker made some comments that Tony La Russa was very upset about, feeling there was some kind of grudge still being held against Cueto from that fight 2 years ago. Tony saying he was very disappointed those comments were made by the Reds manager.
Adds to the rivalry, doesn't it?
Not quite the edge to it these days, though, that there was even a year ago.
No, but so far these teams have played 10 times this year. They've split the series 5-5. And the schedule maker must be a Hollywood screenwriter, because that's the way they'll end the season, against one another.
And those 3 games will be played at Busch Stadium. Three and 2. And there's ball 4. The inning continues for Jay Bruce. Derek Lilliquist, who took over for the great Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan. Well, don't miss the biggest event of the season. It is right around the corner. Fox Fantasy Football, presented by Burger King. Easy league to set up. Fox Fantasy insider info, and always free to play. Play in a private league with a group of your buddies, or join a public league. Sign up today at foxsports.com/fantasy. And we're told a fantasy value pick is Jermaine Gresham of the Bengals. They're extraordinarily talented tight end. Finished last year red hot, 6 touchdowns. Ranked among the top 10 for tight ends in the NFL. They say if you can get him about the 11th or 12th round in fantasy football, a value pick. That's what I'm told by our friends from Fox Fantasy Football. I did not come up with that.
I thought you were going to keep that one for yourself.
I've never played it.
Gave it up.
Have you played it?
No. If they start a league after the World Series ends, then I'll get interested.
One and one. I take that back. The first year I took it, you're going to look at David Freese, and we wonder, is he going to be available?
He's still got the warm-up top on there. We just don't know. But again, I think if he were fully healthy, that would have been a great spot for him.
1 and 1 to Bruce, who homered his last time up to take a 1-run lead at the time to a 3-run lead. Freese hit on the left wrist by reliever Alfredo Simon in the 7th inning last night.
Here's the pitch here. It certainly wasn't intentional. Simon threw 3 wild pitches in a short outing here, and you saw that ball just ride all the way in on him. That hurts looking at it.
Cameras were focused in on that left wrist that continued to swell and swell. 3-1 to Bruce. And Dixon having a hard time finding the strike zone. They are loaded for Scott Rowland. They've already had a visit to the mound in the inning.
Well, it's his jam to get out of. Don't look over your shoulder, kid. It's all yours. Difficulty here now is trying to execute pitches, not just with the bases loaded, but after you've thrown more than 30 pitches in an inning.
Rolling a pair of walks today and is lined to center. He has Ludwick down at third base, Frazier at second, and Jay Bruce on at first, and the Reds trying to add to a 3-run lead in the 7th. Chinski, the left-hander, getting loose in the Cardinal bullpen. He's the only left-hander they have down there. And there's a base hit into center field. It'll score 2 more. Scotty Rowland with a 2-out hit to make it a 5-run Cincinnati lead.
Well, Tom, you just made a good point. Zipchinski is the only left-hander in the bullpen. As you see, this 0-2 pitch just got a little bit too much of the plate. But to me, if you've got that second lefty, and they sent down Barrett Browning, the lefty, the second lefty, so they could get Dixon on the team here, then you might be able to fire that lefty against Jay Bruce in this inning. Hold the game at 5-2, keep the game in check. And instead, I don't want to say this game is out of hand, but certainly that's a huge hit right there to push the game to 7-2.
Leonardo Navarro, all of this noise in his started after Dixon retired the first 2 batters. They allowed the solo home run to Phillips, a single to Ludwick, walked Frazier, walked Bruce, and a 2-out, 2-run single to Rowland. And ahead of Navarro, 0-2.
Yeah, I was even surprised to see him go out of the stretch there. He's just mentioned he's been in AAA as a starting pitcher. He had walked 2 batters out of the stretch right before the Rowland at bat. Had the bases loaded, 2 outs. Could have gone to the windup. Certainly it's his choice, comfort level. But to me, you would assume comfort level more windup. Stayed in the stretch and that at bat with Rowland.
Breaking ball just under the knees. Navarro turns around to bat from the left side for the first time today. Xavier Paul, the pinch hitter, waits on deck. Jonathan Broxton been down there ready for a long time. Jose Arredondo starting to stretch out a little bit as well. Been a lengthy 7th for Brandon Dixon, his first big league appearance since the month of May.
Well, I also think, Tom, it's part of the pressure the Reds put on you as a team with the bullpen. You know the runs are going to be few and far between, so you really have to keep leads. You want to in any situation, but keep them where they are. The tack-on runs with the Reds seem to be bigger because they have a bullpen that is so good. Only the Braves have allowed fewer runs between the 7th and the 9th innings than the Reds. Really the 2 best bullpens for me in the league, Atlanta and Cincinnati. When Joe Madden was a coach with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, he used to call these jug runs, short for jugular. Going for the jugular late in the game, the put-away runs.
Off the end of the bat, this might fall. It will. Holiday never picked it up. And that'll play Jay Bruce to make it an 8-2 Cincinnati lead. Navarro, his first hit today. And you got to believe, are they going to leave Dixon out there? Or we'll see.
Well, everything's going wrong for him. He gets a pop-up right here, but obviously Matt Holliday just loses track of it, looking directly into the sun. But you know, Mike Matheny is just very anxious about this inning. You see the view there looking up at the top of the stadium as that sun comes over the right field stands.
Mike Matheny has to be anxious. He's been one pitch from getting out of this inning, it seems like forever. And yet the inning continues and the pitch count continues to run up.
Well, now Chris Heising, who got a lot of playing time. Last year in center field, had a big year. And this year the average has been up, but the power numbers way down. Oh, 2 on Heising. So Marshall only faces one batter, throws one pitch. And that retired Matt Carpenter ending the Cardinals' top of the 7th. One on and fouled out of play. Of the Reds' 8 runs in this game today, oftentimes the most deflating runs for an opponent are runs that come with 2 out. 5 of the 8 have scored that way for the Reds. Including 4 in this 7th inning, which mercifully comes to an end for Dixon. Faces 9 batters. Retires the 1st, the 2nd, and the 9th. Brandon Phillips wearing a microphone for us today.
Time to get famous, baby. I told you I had to get famous on the air.
Top of the 8th inning, St. Louis comes to bat, trailing Cincinnati 8-2, and the Cardinals get a look at right-hander Jonathan Broxton. They have seen him this year during interleague play when the Cardinals got together with the Kansas City Royals. Broxton has had a couple of rough outings. And it's 2-0 on Matt Holliday to begin the 8th inning.
Not much mystery with Broxton, especially with working with the lead right here. 95, 96 fastball and the sliders. When he's on, tough on right-handed hitters.
That one turned around where it came from. 94 in, 194 going out. Let's check in going out to Matt Vasgersian in the MLB Network studios for a game break.
Oh, Tommy, here come the Giants. Ex-Brave Gregor Blanco's 2-run double, making it just a 1-run ball game in the city by the Bay. San Francisco trying to come back to make it 6 in a row. Back to you guys in Cincinnati.
Not only the Giants trying to make it 6 in a row, thank you, Matt, but the fact that Atlanta all of a sudden has lost 4 of its last 5 games.
It's great with this second wild card, isn't it? I mean, no one's safe, including the first place teams, because you have to keep playing it out to make sure you stay out of that wild card game.
Well, you take a look at the wild card in the National League, and there you see 4 teams within 2 games. Arizona within striking distance at 5.5 out.
I guess
oh my, that's tight.
We're obligated to throw Philadelphia up there because of what the Cardinals did last year, right? 10.5 out on this date.
You're right. Many forget at the time they were not only 10.5 behind Atlanta, they were in 3rd in the wild card. They were behind the Braves and the San Francisco Giants. A year ago yesterday is when all of that began to change. 3-0 on Alan Craig. 0 for 3 in a game today. Eight runs, 11 hits, 7 men left on base for Cincinnati. 2 runs, 11 hits, 6 left for the Cardinals. Three and 2 to count now on Craig. Not sure he agreed with that call.
No, but this could be interesting swing right here, figuring you're going to see another fastball. See this pitch riding up and in. Seen 5 in a row already, all 94, 95. I think there's much mystery to what's coming right here, although Broxton gives a shake to the sign.
Well, beat him with 96 gas right there and on the hands, 1 out. Well, we turn back the clock 10.5 back a year ago yesterday on the 24th of August for St. Louis. Clinching on the final day, beating Philly in the division series of Brewers in the LCS. And then that amazing World Series strike away from elimination twice in Game 6. David Freese, twice a hero, propelling them to Game 7 and a win.
Well, you know, Tom, earlier we talked about Barry Larkin being the kind of player who will always be invoked through generations of baseball players. The Cardinals, the 2011 Cardinals, they're a team that will be invoked forever as the epitome of a comeback team. Any team that's 10 games out in the middle of August, they will be the patron saint of those kind of teams looking for comebacks.
You know, for a lot of time, Tom, you know, as you and I have been watching baseball along roughly the same time frame, the Seattle Mariners have been that team for a long time after what they did back in, what was that,
1995, refused to lose. Certainly the year that put baseball on the map, made Seattle a major league city by any definition of the words.
Sapchinski, the left-hander, still ready to come into the game. Broxton all of a sudden finding the strike zone ahead of Beltran 0-2. You know, one of the real questions about this Cardinal team when the year began, Tom, was how would it hold up with all the age on this team? And you know, here they are in so many categories, so impressive, especially offensively. But some of the guys that they wondered about, Beltran's production has really leveled off. For a call, has battled through some back issues, but again, his production has completely dropped off from where it was at the start of the year. And of course, Berkman injured twice, and they might get him back in September. Could September be one of those months for the Cardinals that maybe goes the other way because of age?
Well, you've got the Carpenter injury as well. There's no question coming into the season that has been a question about this team. And I'll go back to Furcal. You mentioned him. He's a huge key. There's a guy who finished May hitting well over 300. Since then, hitting down closer to 200 and doesn't really represent much of a stolen base threat on the bases anymore either. So this team has a little more energy, I believe, a little more dynamic quality to it when Furcal is at the top of his game, but we haven't seen that now for 2 months. I think Beltran will be fine. He's certainly in a 2-week slump right here. Has had a hand issue that's bothered him. But I'll go back to, I think, the experience of what they had last year, Tom. I think it really plays in their favor. I saw this a lot of years in Philadelphia where that team was a great closing type of team. Once you've got that in the vault, that you know you've done it, you can draw on that down the. I think the Cardinals will rebound.
In the area where they've gotten so much better, even with just a single trade that didn't make a lot of headlines, with bringing in Mujica. You talked about that 6th and 7th inning area that just killed the Cardinals so many games this year. And now, ever since he's come on board, he has not allowed a single run.
Yeah, great pickup. Didn't get a lot of attention at the deadline there, but certainly addressed #1 need for this team. You mentioned the 6th and 7th innings, the bridge to get late to the game to Jason Mott really was a bridge under construction. I think they've solved that. And especially Fernando Salas, who threw the ball exceptionally well last night, looks like he's back, a guy with closers type stuff.
Well, the Cardinals have been a very, very good home team, as they generally are, where they have had their issues so far this season on the road. They're a game under 500. 2-2 on Schumacher, and Broxton trying to close out the 8th, which he does. 98 miles per hour. T-Mobile, test drive our nationwide 4G network. And by the new Just for Men, auto stop is foolproof. Gray is over. Guys are sounding good down there.
Today's Barry Larkin retirement ceremony day, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That explains that 11 behind second base. Nice tribute right there. There's also a tribute on the scoreboard as well. Look at that line score, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hits column. 11s are wild.
Indeed they are.
And if you saw Barry before the game, I'm sure you did, he still looks like he can play.
He does.
And in a week in which Bill Lee and Roger Clemens are making starts in professional baseball games, you never know, Tom.
Where do you think that Clemens thing might be going? You think there's anything to that? It's been talked about a little bit here this week.
More than talked about. It's interesting to see Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, kind of wax on the idea of Roger Clemens coming back and having an influence on those younger pitchers down the stretch for the Astros. Personally, I don't get it. I mean, he's not in major league shape. I don't see the bang for the buck if you're the Houston Astros. I think you have a coaching staff to work with young players, and if it's a gimmick, if it's strictly to sell some tickets, or maybe to get Roger Clemens 5 more years to defer his Hall of Fame candidacy, I think that's something the commissioner should take a look at. That's Major League Baseball. It's not gimmick baseball. Now, if he's got Major League stuff, and you evaluate him as a Major League pitcher, that's different.
Rookie right-hander J.J. Hoover loosening in the Reds bullpen. Reds with an 8-2 lead batting here in the last of the 8th inning. Well, let me ask you this, because somebody reminded me of this earlier today. Now, baseball clearly is a different game and an economic structure and so on and so forth, but there are a few of you out there that may recall when the Big Red Machine was flying high and had won back-to-back World Series. They had a trade agreed upon with Charlie Finley and the Oakland A's to bring Vida Blue here to Cincinnati, who was the most dominant pitcher at the time in the American League with the Athletics. And Stubbs a base hit, and the crowd applauds him ending a string of 7 consecutive at-bats with a base hit.
How about that reaction from Stubbs? Boy, that was a sigh of relief, literally, for Drew Stubbs.
Well, here comes Brandon Phillips wearing a microphone for us today, and always entertaining is Brandon Phillips.
You ready? You got it ready? Come on. Hey, baby, come on, baby. Hey, baby. Terrible throw. I see you, baby. I see you. Nice play. Ooh. Do not throw that again. What's up, baby? How you doing, baby? All right, baby. Good, good. What's up, baby? Have a good one, dog. Today's a good day to get famous. Sinker, 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 sinker. I had to keep it moving, dog. Shit, just because I had to jump. We got to cut that grass, man. Even have it level with the dirt. It's a little faster than that. I see you, baby. Oh, yeah, I had to show my football skills. Hey, man, that little baby cutter, man, oh, my gosh, that thing is disgusting.
He's always fun. Brandon Phillips.
If he only would just come out of his shell a little bit, you know? Well, Tom, you know in this town they have the mayor. Sean Casey will always be the mayor. I think this guy's your Speaker of the House.
Mm-hmm. 0-2 pitch on Phillips and a ground ball. It should be a double play to end the inning. And off we go to the ninth. Reds trying to even this series in a game apiece. Rookie J.J. Hoover came over just at the end of spring training from the Atlanta Braves organization. Well, they're very excited about his future. Atlanta didn't know how healthy Chipper Jones would be, and they acquired highly touted young Reds third baseman Juan Francisco. Hoover was up early in the year, was sent down, and just brought back up from the minor leagues. Been a good day for Tony Cruz, getting a rare start in place of Yadier Molina, who undoubtedly will be back in there for the series finale tomorrow. Adam Wainwright against Homer Bailey. And for fans in both Reds country and Cardinal country, you'll be able to see the series finale on Fox Sports Ohio or Fox Sports Midwest tomorrow.
As we watch Hoover out there, you look back at that 7th inning outburst, those tack-on runs we talked about by the Reds. It did deprive us of getting a chance to see Aroldis Chapman. I'm sure the Cardinals aren't heartbroken about that, but you talk about really the most electric arm in all of baseball. A guy who's been striking out 48% of the hitters that he's faced this year. There's Chapman. Think about that. That would be an all-time record. Eric Gagne has the record at 45%, but striking out basically every other batter that he faced on the major league level.
Now look what he's done this season against National League teams. The only slump that Chapman had all year long was about a 2-week stretch during interleague play. In 52 games spanning 56 innings, he has given up 2 runs against National League teams. Not only that, in 56 innings has struck out 105 batters. John Smoltz said to us last night he has never seen a more explosive weapon in his entire life than Aroldis Chapman coming out of the bullpen. As we asked Smoltz, who, as you know, was a starter, then a closer, went back to being a starter again. As that's out number 1 here in the 9th inning, and let's check in with Matt Vasgersian back at our MLB Network studios for a game break.
Tommy, Atlanta, San Francisco, top of the 8th. Jeremy Affeldt trying to keep it a 1-run game. Back-to-back bases loaded walks, and a team that's averaged fewer than 3 runs a game this week has a 6-3 lead at the end of 8. Tommy, back to you in Cincinnati.
All right, Matt Vasgersian. You'll be joining Matty probably sometime on the set sometime soon, right, Thomas?
Yes, but I'd also like to disagree a bit with Mr. John Smoltz.
All right.
Who I have tremendous respect for. And I totally get the Chapman as he's an unbelievable weapon because it's a victory just to make contact against him. But I don't want to forget about Mr. Mariano Rivera when you talk about postseason weapons, because he could influence the 8th inning as well as the 9th. Not to say Chapman couldn't. I think he's physically capable of doing that, but so far that has not been his role.
And I should make sure I point out that immediately, without you even pointing it out or anybody else in the conversation pointing it out, he said, don't get me wrong, Rivera is the greatest closer in the history of the game, and everything he's done in the regular season, his career, the postseason, as we know. But he said it just as far as a guy who will come into a game and can completely dominate and overwhelm opposing batters. He had not seen anybody like Shaq.
That's definitely the case. I certainly would agree with that. The closest that I can look back in my memory covering this game is young Dwight Gooden at 19 and 20. And that's doing it as a starting pitcher. Really with a two-pitch pitcher back then, fastball and curveball. But that was sheer dominance, where hitters were overmatched.
Hoover coming in there throwing up gas. Burger King smooth play of the game turned in by Jay Bruce. That turned out to be a big play in this game back in the fourth. Sliding grab after the Cardinals had a leadoff double. And then Bruce made it a 3-run Reds lead on a 2-run home run that came in the 3-run sixth. Daniel Descalso up to pinch hit for Zepchinski, who goes an inning, allows a hit with a strikeout. And now Hoover trying to tie a ribbon around this one. And even this series at a game apiece, and far more importantly for Dusty Baker and the Reds, get that game right back they lost last night to go 7 in front. Out. Hoover fans aside in the 9th inning. And a final count of 8-2. Leak out pitching Jaime Garcia. Series finale tomorrow. So will we see these two teams playing October baseball? Reds a division leader. Cardinals still right in the hunt for the wild card. Dan and Matt standing by from our MLB Network studios. We'll see you next week.